now we're in front of the house. This is Menlove Avenue. Oasis fans might know this picture as also the cover from the Live Forever single of Oasis. The house where John Lennon grew up, and now we switch from the footage from spring, this is still spring 2023, to the footage that I filmed 2 weeks ago. And now, as you can see, we can move in. So this is now summer. You also see it in the trees and the plants. This is summer 24, 2 weeks ago. We're standing in the garden of John Lennon's or Aunt Mimi's house. Here it's also allowed to film. And yeah, it was a magical moment. It was already a magical moment last year for me to stand in front of it, but now to go in there was really something else, something special. One of the highlights, maybe one of the highlights in my Beatle fandom life, I have to say at least. So this is the garden. You know, if you're not a Beatle fan, this is probably one of the most boring, pointless videos ever. Now, at least these things I'm filming here. But you know, it's John's garden. Some of the older plants are still from his time. I think this is Aunt Mimi's bedroom. You know, not really allowed to film there. I hope it's okay. Otherwise, I will delete that video. And the next, this is John's bedroom. You know, I slowed the pace of the video down here because I could just film like 2 or 3 seconds here. He was a big Brigitte Bardot and of course Elvis Presley fan. And this is something that's wrong. Here's a poster of Le Mépris, the film by Jean-Luc Godard, in his bedroom. That can't have been there when he was a youngster. They said it's the original bedroom from his time recreated, but this film came out. I'm a big Brigitte Bardot fan and also Godard fan. This film came out in 1963 when he already had moved out of the house. So a 23-year-old John Lennon, when he was on visit back in Menlove Avenue, wouldn't really, you know, he wouldn't hang this poster up his bedroom, I think. But it's pretty safe to say that some Brigitte Bardot posters must have hung in his bedroom. Now we walk. This is also last year's footage, but you know, I wanted to recreate the walk from John's house to Woolton. You know, John's house is also in Woolton, but now to the city, to the core of the village that is Woolton, which is on a hilltop. You have to walk up a hill. And why am I doing this? Because, of course, I'm recreating the walk John must have walked in July 1957 in one of the probably most important days in rock and roll history, when he met Paul McCartney. You know, this is the walk from John's house to where the Woolton fete took place at St. Peter's Church. And you know, it's a nice walk. It's like a 20-25 minutes walk up this hill, and then you're in this very beautiful, quaint, typical British village called Woolton, which is part of Liverpool, but really feels more like a rural town, and not really like the big city that is Liverpool and in the center and everything. So this is Woolton. We moved up. Me and my girlfriend moved up the hill now, and yeah, this must have been, because this is the most direct and also very, very nice looking way to go there from John's house to the Woolton fete place. This must have been the way as John walked it back then in 1957. And now in the background, this is already St. Peter's Church, and in the backyard of the church the Woolton fete took place. Also interesting is the graveyard, of course, in that church, because there's a John Mackenzie, you know, Father Mackenzie, one could say, and an Eleanor Rigby, and those two graves are very close to each other. Paul McCartney always said he didn't write Eleanor Rigby with that in mind. That must have been very subconscious, if at all subconscious, because he had the name Rigby, according to him, from a shop window he saw in Bristol, I think, when he visited Jane Asher there. And Eleanor is a very common name in Liverpool. You know, every second grave with a female in that graveyard was someone called Eleanor. So it's a very usual name, I think, back then in Liverpool. And also Rigby is a pretty common name. But, you know, it's very possible that Paul walked by the grave when he was there during the Woolton fete where he met John, and maybe very, very subconsciously, that went into the inspiration to, if you're very generous, into the inspiration to Eleanor Rigby. Now I'm searching for the grave. I found it here. Here's John Rigby, and where do we have Eleanor Rigby? It must be like, 10 meters, 15 meters away from it. Here we have Eleanor Rigby. Yes. And now we're moving to the place where the concert of the Quarrymen took place. Here in this backyard, the Quarrymen played. That's where the famous story comes from, where John Lennon played "Come Go With Me" by the Del Vikings and made up his own improvised lyrics, like he did with "Don't Let Me Down" in 1969 on the rooftop, and he forgot the lyrics. Also there he forgot the lyrics, and on the spot he made up better lyrics. And this is where John and Paul met. This is it, the exact place where they met. And soon after that, Paul could join the Quarrymen, soon to become the Beatles. And now another walk or a bus drive, to be more precise, we are taking is from the way back from the Woolton Fete to Paul's home in Forthlin Road, where he grew up. He didn't really grow up there. I think the McCartneys moved in there somewhere in the early to mid 50s. He grew up much more outside of the city center even than this. But we're now going to the district of Allerton with the bus to Forthlin Road, where Paul grew up, with Jim, his father, and Mike, his brother. We didn't take the bus that's arriving now, but this is of course for a Beatle fan nice to look at the Magic Mystery tour bus. So I filmed it, but we took the normal, the ordinary bus as Paul would have taken it. And I think you can already guess where we have to change bus. We now take not this bus, but we'll take the regular one to Penny Lane. We have to change at Penny Lane, as Paul probably had to after he went to the Woolton Fete. And from there we take the bus directly to Allerton and to where Paul lived back then in 1957. This is a barber. This is now Penny Lane. This is a barber. This is where the barber from the song used to be, but it's a different barber now. I think the barber from back then, his name was Bioletti. But yeah, this is the roundabout, the shelter in the middle of a roundabout at Penny Lane. And now we go by bus, as I said, to Paul's home. This is also footage from, maybe you can see it from, not from 2 weeks ago, but from spring, 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago. But I wanted to recreate the full Beatles back in Liverpool. How would they go from place A to place B experience in this video? So now the bus, Paul always used to like to sit on the top of the bus. Once in an interview he said that one of the biggest things he's missing since he's famous is sitting on the top of a bus, of an ordinary bus. So now we are, as the Shields told you, at the proud home of Jim McCartney, where Paul and Mike were raised by his dad. His mother died in the, I think, 55 or 56, Mary McCartney. And now Forthlin Road, here you can see John taking a cup of tea in this kitchen. This is the kitchen in Forthlin Road, the house. They recreated the look from back then. This is also maybe familiar, this garden, because as you can see, this is the garden from the Chaos and Creation cover. Mike McCartney took this photo for excellent Paul McCartney solo album from 2005, but the photo, of course, is from 1962. Beatles on the verge of becoming famous. One of the last peaceful, tranquil moments maybe in Paul McCartney's life, where he wasn't a super famous celebrity. Yeah, that's Forthlin Road. That's as much as I could film, because again, wasn't really allowed to film in there, but here in the backyard it was okay. It was allowed to film here, so nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's Paul's home. That's how he moved out of the house. Again, for non-Beatle fans, probably extremely pointless, boring, frustrating video, but for Beatle fans, I think this is very, especially those who haven't been to Liverpool yet, very I think, a very rewarding look and a glimpse into Paul's life as a youngster, and of course also John Lennon, George Harrison. They must have been there many times in the early 60s. Paperback writer.